This video is in regards to Daniel, the prophet, chapter 9, and the 70 weeks prophecy. This is basically talking about the timeline of the end times, really. We'll just read it and then discuss it afterwards. So, Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So it basically covers everything. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, which this is King James, so that's actually 62 weeks. 3 score is 60 and 2 is 2 weeks. So there's 7 weeks and then 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 3 score and 2 weeks, so after 62 weeks, shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with the flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And so 62 weeks have been covered now. Now, in verse 27, it's talking about the final week. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. That's the end of the 70 weeks prophecy. So if we go back to the start of it, if you notice it said these final 70 weeks are going to start when it says in verse 25, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and rebuild Jerusalem unto the Messiah, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. So when did this prophecy begin? And in my footnotes of the Bible, it says it started in 444 BC. So it was somewhere around in there. It was, it says Nehemiah. Basically, Nehemiah is another book in the Bible, but it says Nehemiah was authorized to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. So basically, that's 7 weeks and 62 weeks, and these are weeks of years, so or weeks of 7 years. So 1 week equals 7 years. So 62 weeks of years is 434 years, and then 7 weeks equals 49 years, right? Because it's 1 week equals 7 years, so 7 weeks times 7 years is 49 years, and then 62 weeks times 7 years is 434 years, and that's a total of 483 years. So if you go from 444 BC, when Nehemiah was authorized to rebuild Jerusalem, you go 483 years from that, that's when the Messiah was going to come. And what did it say was going to happen? And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. Messiah is going to be killed. This is what the Old Testament says. But not for himself. This is the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. But not for himself. He's going to be cut off. He's going to be killed, but not for himself. Okay, so we saw that happen. And that happened at the start of the first century is when it happened. And so then, now, what about this final week? Well, it tells us what's going to start the final week. It says he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. So the final week is going to start at the confirmation of a covenant. And there's going to be a middle point of that covenant right in the middle of that 7 years, that week, that final week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. We call that the abomination of desolation. There's going to be a rebuilt temple in Jerusalem. That's probably what's going to be the confirmation of this covenant. We believe that it's likely that the final 7 years will begin when there's a third temple. When there's a covenant that comes about that says Israel can build the third temple, and this is just what it says. I mean, it says, "He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week." Then it says, "In the midst of the week, he's going to cause sacrifice and oblation to cease." Well, for sacrifice and oblation to be there needs to be a covenant. So if you put two and two together, and that's not a guarantee, but if there's going to be a covenant confirmed, and then there's going to be sacrifices and offerings again, I mean, it's likely or even highly likely that this final 7 weeks is going to begin when there's a covenant to rebuild a third temple. And the only problem is, in the midst of that covenant, whoever confirms this covenant is going to break it, and he's going to go in the middle of that covenant at 3.5 years, and he's going to end the sacrifices, and he's going to commit the abomination of desolation. He's going to cause major problems in that temple. So, for those who have never heard this prophecy in the book of Daniel, or maybe have heard it and didn't quite understand it, I hope that helped. And I'll be going over more of Daniel in the future.